Hello everyone, this is Fanindra, the Zoology faculty. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter at a glance of the chapter Structural Organization in Animals. So this chapter we have an average number of questions in the NEET per year around 4 or 5. Sometimes we have 4 and sometimes we have 5 questions per year. It's a very important chapter where we are getting 4 questions per year. So when we look at the previous analysis, the previous year questions in 2023 we have around 4 questions, and 2024 we have around 4 questions, and even 2025 we have around 4 questions. So there is a constancy in maintaining 4 questions in structural organization animals. So minimum there will be 4 questions in this chapter, and sometimes it may be 5 also. So when we look at the overview of this particular chapter, so in this chapter we are going to discuss about the tissues, the 4 different types of tissues here, like epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissue and the nervous tissue. So when you look at the epithelial tissue, we have different types of epithelial tissues, the tissues which is covering our body, either the outer covering or inner lining. In this we have different types like simple epithelium and the compound epithelium. Simple epithelium is made up of single layer of cells, compound epithelium made up of multiple layers of cells. In the simple epithelium we have around the squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium and ciliated epithelium. Squamous epithelium like tile-like cells and which is responsible for the diffusion boundary, and cuboidal epithelium made up of cube-like cells and which is responsible for secretion and absorption, and columnar epithelium tall and slender cells responsible for secretion, absorption and also sometimes movement with the presence of cilia. And compound epithelium, when you go with, they are containing of multiple layers of cells, and these compound epithelium generally not useful for secretion absorption. It is mostly useful for protecting us from the mechanical stress. So that's about the epithelium. We will see in detail in the NCERT textbook. Now next comes to the glandular epithelium. In this glandular we have different types like unicellular and multicellular glands. Unicellular glands, example for unicellular glands made up of single cell, nothing but goblet cells. Multicellular glands made up of clusters of cells, for example salivary glands. And based on the mode of secretions we have exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Exocrine glands will secrete their substances directly into the ducts, and endocrine glands will secrete the substances directly into the blood, nothing but the hormones. Exocrine glands, nothing but the enzymes and earwax, mucus, saliva, oil, milk, etc. So these are all the different types of epithelium. We will discuss that in NCERT textbook even, and as well as we can discuss about the cell junctions which are present in these tissues. We have different types of cell junctions like tight junctions, othering junctions and gap junctions. Tight junctions help stop leaking of substances. Othering junctions will make the neighboring cells together, as well as the gap junctions or communication junctions helps in transport of substances like small molecules or large molecules, ions, electrical impulses, etc. So this is about an overview of the epithelial tissue. We will see in detail in the NCERT textbook. Then next comes to the connective tissue, then a second type of tissue, the most abundant tissue which is present in our body. In the connective tissue, like this is made up of mostly the intercellular matrix and as well as the cells called fibroblasts and different types of cells here. Connective tissues we have, based on the arrangement of these cells and the matrix present here, we can differentiate these into loose connective tissues and the dense connective tissues and the specialized connective tissues. Loose connective tissues, here the cells and fibers are arranged loosely in the intercellular matrix, and the examples for loose connective tissue are areolar connective tissue and adipose tissue. Areolar tissue which is present beneath the skin, which is acting as a support framework of epithelium, whereas adipose tissue also present beneath the skin, which is responsible for storing the fats. Excess food material is converted into fat in our body and is stored in the adipose tissue. When it comes to dense regular tissue, we have dense connective tissue, we have dense regular and dense irregular connective tissues. Dense regular connective tissues, the fibers and cells are arranged in a parallel fashion, which is present in tendons and ligaments. Tendons connect bone to jaw muscles and the ligaments connect bone to bones, we all know that. And dense irregular connective tissue where the cells and fibers are arranged irregularly, this can be seen in skin, the dermis of skin. Then when it comes to the specialized connective tissue, here we will go with cartilage, bone, adipose tissue and as well as blood. The specialized connective tissue, like the first thing when we discuss is the cartilage. Cartilage is made up of the cells called chondrocytes, which is pliable and resists compression. Cartilage is present in many parts of our body like tip of the nose, outer ear joints, between the vertebral bones and limbs and hands, and embryonic skeleton is made up of cartilage. And The bone, you see the main structure framework of our body, which maintains the shape of our body, which protects our internal organs, which gives support to our body, which helps in movement and locomotion. This is nothing but the bone made up of the specialized cells called osteocytes. Then when it comes to the blood is called as fluid connective tissue because it is consisting of gases, liquids and as well as solids. We have different types of gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen, solids like we can take about the blood corpuscles like RBCs, WBCs and the platelets, and when it comes to liquid, the fluid part of the blood is called as plasma, and this blood, you will study this in detail in the body fluids and circulation. Here just remember about the types of cells which are present in the blood, what are the components that are present inside the blood. So this is also a specialized connective tissue, nothing but the fluid connective tissue which connects different parts of the body. Now when it comes to the muscle tissue, the next type of tissue, the muscle tissue, you know muscle tissue, muscles are responsible for movement in our body, either it may be a voluntary movement or an involuntary movement. Involuntary and voluntary movements are mainly with the help of these muscles, and these muscles are made up of many parallelly arranged fibrils called as myofibrils, and these muscles contract and relax. They have a special property of contraction and relaxation. In this, depending upon their location, depending upon their function and their structure, we classify these muscles into different types: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles and the cardiac muscles. Skeletal muscles, as the name itself indicates, skeletal muscles are the muscles which are attached to the skeletons or the bones, which mainly help in the voluntary movements of our body. The skeletal muscles, and these are striated muscles because they have striations, and these are unbranched muscles, and these are voluntary muscles, they are under voluntary control of our body. Whereas smooth muscles, these are fusiform or tapered with tapered ends, and again they are unbranched muscles, and these smooth muscles, they are involuntary muscles and they are non-striated muscles, and the name called smooth muscles. They are present in the internal organs of our body, mostly the walls of blood vessels, intestines, urinogenital tracts, etc. Then cardiac muscles, the name itself indicates, cardiac is nothing but the heart. Cardiac muscle is a branched muscle with intercalated discs and communication junctions present in that, and these communication junctions will help in rapid transfer of ions or rapid transfer of electrical impulses to make entire heart to contract as a unit. It's called whole-hearted contraction. So this is a branched muscle and this is a uninucleated muscle, and these cardiac muscles are responsible for the contraction and relaxation of the heart. So these are about the muscles. And finally when it comes to the nervous tissue or neural tissue, the most important function of the neural tissue is it exerts greatest control over body's responsiveness to changing environmental conditions. So that is like ability of the body to respond to the environmental conditions is mainly depending upon this nervous tissue. In this nervous tissue, the structural and functional units of the nervous tissue are nothing but the neurons, which are excitable cells but cannot regenerate. These neurons help in receiving, analyzing and transmitting the electrical impulses from one place of the body to other place of the body. Whereas the neuroglial cells, which occupy more than one half of the neural tissue, neuroglial cells will help in providing support to the neurons, providing nutrients to the neurons or nourishment to the neurons. These are non-excitable cells but they can regenerate. So that's about the nervous tissue which is present in this particular chapter. You can see all the NCERT diagrams which are related to this structural organization in animals of different types of tissues. Here you can see the epithelial tissues, squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium and the columnar epithelium, and this is columnar epithelium with cilia. This is glandular epithelium, unicellular and multicellular glands, and multi-layered, that is stratified epithelium, areolar tissue, adipose tissue, cartilage and bone you can see here, and the different types of muscles, and this is a neural tissue, and these are dense, regular and irregular connective tissues. The diagrams play a very important role. There are many diagrammatic questions in the NEET examination, so please be careful about the diagrams. Take care that the diagrams labeling you are seeing it perfectly. Please don't miss these diagrams, as we have many questions related to the diagrams in the NEET examination. Okay. Then the next comes the frog, the type study of the frog. In this type study of the frog, we are going to discuss about the external morphology of the frog, the general characteristics, and we are also going to discuss about the internal anatomy of the different parts of the frog, different systems of the frog, like we have digestive system, reproductive system, excretory system, nervous system, endocrine system, and the respiratory system. So all these systems anyhow we are going to discuss in the NCERT textbook. I'll show you the NCERT textbook and what are the important terms which to remember there, we'll be discussing in that particular area. So this is an overview of all the systems which are present inside the frog. You can just go through this, you will get a clear idea of all the systems which are present inside the frog. So these are all the diagrams which are related to the frog. That's the external morphology of the frog, and this is the digestive system of the frog. Please be careful with the labeling. And this is the male reproductive system of the frog and the female reproductive system of the frog. These are the diagrams given in the NCERT textbook. Please remember the labelings which are given in this particular diagram. We'll see you NCERT textbook again, don't worry about that. And next comes to the cockroach, the type study of cockroach. Again, cockroach, we are also going to discuss about the external morphology of the cockroach belonging to the phylum Arthropoda, and we are also going to discuss about the digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, nervous system, and circulatory system, finally reproductive system of this particular cockroach in this chapter, right. So this is our overview, entire overview of all the important terminology. So these are all the important terminology where the NEET has mainly concentrated on the different types of topics in the examination. We'll discuss about those things. So please, you can just go through all these important terminology by pausing the video. Now these are all the diagrams which are present in the cockroach. Like you have an external morphology diagram and the head of the cockroach. Then when it comes to the digestive system of the cockroach, the mouth parts of the cockroach, circulatory system of the cockroach, and male and female reproductive systems of the cockroach. These are the diagrams present here. You please go through the labelings of these particular diagrams. This is very important thing in the NCERT. Don't miss out the diagrams, please. Now this is a table regarding the cockroach. Like cockroach, generally we see many numerical things in the cockroach. So numericals in the sense like there are many numbers based questions in the cockroach. Like you can see a particular very clear table which I have given here. Cockroach, the length of the cockroach 1/4 to 3 inches, length of the periplaneta around 34 to 53 millimeters, and head is made up of 6 segments, thorax is made up of 3 segments, and abdomen is made up of 10 segments. And the sternums we are going to discuss in the NCERT part, don't worry. And the teeth, that is gizzard, made up of 6 chitinous plates, and hepatic CK made up of 6 to 8, nothing but 6 to 8 hepatic CK or gastric CK. Malpighian tubules, excretory structures around 100 to 150, spiracles around 10 pairs, 2 pairs in thorax and 8 pairs in abdomen, and ganglia around 9, 3 ganglia in thorax and 6 ganglia in the abdomen, and each eye has 2000 hexagonal units called as ommatidia. This is one of the number, and each ovary will have 8 ovarioles, and this is the number 14 to 16 eggs per each ootica, and like that 9 to 10 capsules are being released by the cockroach in a season. And a cockroach undergoes the young one of the cockroach, the nymph undergoes molting for 13 times and finally turns into an adult. So this is one of the number. So these are all the numerical based table regarding the cockroach. So you can have a clear idea of all the number based questions in the cockroach, because we have number based questions in the cockroach in the NEET examination at least once or twice before. Then this is about the differentiation between the male and female cockroach, because there was a question in the NEET examination between the male and female cockroach. So generally males, we go with the body size. Male cockroach will have a smaller and slender body, whereas female cockroaches will have a longer body and the broader body. Males' wings extend beyond the abdomen, whereas in females wings are lesser than the abdomen. Males, the abdomen is narrow, whereas the female's abdomen is broad. Anal styles are present in the males, I will show you in the diagram, and whereas anal styles are absent in the females, which are responsible for sensory things, whereas anal cerci, which are responsible for sensing the sound, present in both males and as well as the females. This is not the difference, but brood pouches we are going to see about the brood pouches in the NCERT textbook. So there is a lot of difference between the brood pouch in both males and females. Previous NEET questions, we have to concentrate on this point, very important point. So let us see the NCERT textbook regarding this particular chapter, structural organization of animals. NCERT textbook. So this is the first page of your NCERT textbook, where in this first page, like we are going to discuss about like what is the difference between a cell and a tissue. Tissues are made up of different types of cells here which perform a similar function, and tissues are organized to form organs, organs to form organ systems, and organ systems completely to form organism. this is anyhow we have studied in the animal kingdom. So here this small introduction point is given in this particular page, and I think there is no question from this particular page in the NEET examination before, but here in this particular paragraph we are going to see the 4 different types of tissues. The first, epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and the neural tissue. This is the first page, the introduction of this NCERT. There is a second page, a very important page, where we are going to start with the epithelium tissue. Epi is upon, upon, and thelium is to grow, epithelial tissue. So in this epithelial tissue we have around the 2 different types of epithelium, like we have simple epithelium and the compound epithelium. Simple epithelium, I am going to just underline the important terminology, just you can go through that. Simple epithelium and compound epithelium, single layer of cells and multi-layer of cells, and it forms the lining of body cavities and ducts and the tubes, right. And these are the NCERT diagrams I have shown you before. And this paragraph, if you look at this paragraph, this is a very, very important paragraph where you have to concentrate more, because you can just see here around 2016, 2019, 2020, 2022, 2023 and 2024, in all these years there was a question from this particular paragraph. So in this particular paragraph we are going to see about the different types of epithelium, like simple squamous epithelium, thin layer of flattened cells with regular boundaries. This is simple squamous epithelium. Where it is present in walls of blood vessels and air sacs of lungs, and it is helping in a diffusion boundary. This is one of the previous question. Cuboidal epithelium made up of single layer of cube-like cells. It is present in ducts of glands and tubular parts of nephrons like PCT and DCT, and the major function is secretion and absorption. This was one of the previous NEET question. Then columnar epithelium made up of tall and slender cells with a basal nuclei. These are found in the lining of stomach and intestine, which consist of microvilli. This is helping in secretion absorption. And the same columnar epithelium, if they have cilia on their surface, they are helping in the transport of the substances as well as the mucus, moving the particles or mucus in the specific direction, and this is exclusively present in the hollow organs like bronchioles and fallopian tubes. This is a line which was given 3 times in the NEET examination from past 2016 to 2025. So this is very, very important part, and this entire paragraph, please go through this entire paragraph. The thing is, you have to remember about the shape of the cell, the location of these tissues, and what is the function of this particular tissues. So this is very, very important paragraph. Right, this is the next page where you can see the glandular epithelium. Here there is a question from this glandular epithelium in 2020 based on the goblet cells. There is a single cell, because the cuboidal epithelium consisting of the columnar epithelium consisting of the single cells, goblet cells, which produce mucus. That was a question before. And these are the clusters of cells, the multicellular glands, salivary glands, and here in this particular area you can see the exocrine and endocrine glands releasing the substances into the ducts and into the blood. Exocrine glands examples are very clearly given here, like mucus, saliva, earwax, oil, milk, digestive enzymes and other products, whereas endocrine glands will be producing the hormones. This is very important. Whereas compound epithelium, multi-layered, many layers of the cells, right, limited role in secretion absorption, major role in protecting us from chemical and mechanical stress. Where do you see this? You see this in buccal cavity, pharynx, inner lining of ducts and salivary glands, and as well as pancreatic ducts. This is a very important thing, and there was a question from this in 2024. Whereas this paragraph, very important paragraph again, there was a question from this paragraph in 2019, 2021 and 2024 based on the types of cell junctions, and that was the question was based on the paragraph question, based on the matching question. It was given for 3 times. What is a matching? Like, what do the tight junctions do, what do the othering junctions do, and what do the gap junctions do, or the communication junctions do. So we have discussed this before. Tight junctions prevent the leaking of substances, othering junctions keep the neighboring cells together, gap junctions helps in transport of substances. So that's about the epithelial tissue. Then next comes to the connective tissue, the most abundant tissue, widely distributed tissue in our body. In the connective tissue, like in the introduction of this connective tissue, that is like connective tissue made up of the cells and fibers made up of collagen or elastin, and these cells present in this fibroblast will produce modified polysaccharides which are accumulated between cells and fibers and acts as a matrix. So based on this, there was a question in 2022 and 2023. So please go through the areolar tissue, the labeling of the areolar tissue, and as well as the adipose tissue, which is responsible for storing the fat. And this next paragraph, the loose connective tissue, as we have discussed, areolar tissue and as well as adipose tissue. Areolar tissue, main support framework for the epithelium. There was a question on the areolar tissue, and based on the mast cells there was a question. Then adipose tissue, there was a question on adipose tissue, which is responsible for storing the fat. Excess nutrients are converted into fats and stored in this tissue. There was a question on this. Then finally this part is very important again, where you can see dense regular and irregular connective tissues, dense connective tissues. Dense regular connective tissue, fibers and fibroblasts are arranged parallelly. Irregular connective tissue, they are arranged in irregular fashion. Regular connective tissue, example tendons and ligaments. Tendon connects muscle to bone, and whereas ligaments connects the bone to bone. So that was a very important area given in the NEET examination for twice, and this is the most important question about the dense irregular connective tissue which is present in the skin, and this part you should be very careful. Please get an idea, this dense irregular connective tissue is present in the dermis of the skin. When you talk about epidermis of the skin, it is keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, but when you talk about the dermis of the skin, it is the dense irregular connective tissue. Below the dermis we have hypodermis, which again consists of areolar tissues and the adipose tissues together. So please be careful with all these layers on the skin. Next, in this particular page, like you can see about the specialized connective tissue. So what are the 4 specialized tissues? If you see here, cartilage, bone, blood and adipose tissue. So from this particular area we have one question in 2024 on the cartilage, because cartilage is made up of chondrocytes, pliable matrix, whereas bones made up of non-pliable matrix made up of osteocytes, specialized cells called osteocytes, provide support to our body. From this there was a question. The question was from this, the bone marrow in some bones, is the site of production of blood cells. So that was a question. So please be careful with this particular statement, NCERT statement. There is a chance of missing this statement. Then blood, you don't have much information about the blood here. You just have the information about the things which are present in the blood, that is about the plasma, RBCs, WBCs and the platelets, which helps in transporting of substances from one place to other place of the body. And now coming to the muscle tissue, we have the introduction of the muscle tissue, about the myofibrils, how they are arranged in the muscle tissues and different types of muscle tissues which are present in our body. Skeletal muscle present in our body. In the skeletal muscle, please be careful with this particular line, a sheet of tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. Based on this you will study again in locomotion about the fascia. This was a question which is given before in the NEET examination, but you will discuss that in locomotion movement. So skeletal muscles. Then about the smooth muscles, so we have 2 times there is a question in the smooth muscles, one in 2016 and one in 2021. So smooth muscles is the fusiform muscles, tapered at both the ends, pointed at both the ends, and smooth muscles also have cell junctions, hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheath. And these are present in blood vessels, stomach and intestine. So smooth muscles which are involuntary, which cannot be directly controlled. That was a question before. Cardiac muscle, and it's a branched muscle present only in the heart, and this was also a question before, which consists of intercalated discs and the communication junctions which helps in the transport of electrical impulses. That was a question in the cardiac muscle in 2022. Now coming to the neural tissue, this diagram is very important. Please look at the diagram carefully. Neural tissue, neuron, you will study about the structure of neuron in detail in the neural coordination, but anyhow the diagram says neuron is made up of the important parts like dendrites, cell bodies, and the axon. Cell bodies have the nucleus and as well as nissl granules, which are made up of RNA and proteins. That was a question which is given in the NEET examination before about the nissl granules. You will study that again in neural control and coordination. So here we have 2 types of cells, neurons, the structural units, neuroglia, which are supportive cells of the nervous tissue. So this is about the neuron, nervous tissue, and this statement is very important here. So please remember of this particular statement, the neuron, the impulses travel along the plasma membrane. Disturbance at the neuron endings or output zone triggers events and may cause stimulation or inhibition of adjacent neurons and other cells. Output zone is nothing but the axon terminals or the telodendrites, which transports the impulses to the next neuron or the next tissue. That is a very important part. Then this Organ and organ system, this particular paragraph here, you will be discussing about the morphology and the anatomy, the external structure if you study, that is the morphology, and the internal body parts of the organism, that is nothing but the anatomy. You have one particular word called as discernible trend. We just see a discernible trend in the evolution. This is nothing but we just recognize or notice some changes in the organisms during the evolution. That is nothing but the discernible trend. Okay, this particular paragraph, so just look at the particular paragraph carefully. There was no question in this paragraph, but it is our responsibility to look at every line of NCERT. An earthworm, you don't have, this is a deleted syllabi. So now we will go directly to cockroach. So cockroach, this is the introduction of the cockroach. Generally like cockroaches 1/4 to 3 inches, 0.6 to 7.6 centimeters, and cockroaches periplaneta 34 to 53 millimeters. We have seen that in the table, head, thorax and abdomen, and these are all the cockroaches. They are covered by exoskeleton made up of sclerites. Dorsal scleroid is called terga, ventral scleroid is called sterna, and the lateral scleroids are called pleura, which are connected together by a membrane called as an arthrodal membrane, which was a previous NEET question. And this is a diagram regarding the external surface of the morphology of the cockroach. Now this particular area, like this is the paragraph where you will just study about the head, the 6 segments of the head connected to the thorax with the help of a flexible neck. Thorax made up of 3 segments, prothorax, mesothorax and metathorax. Each thoracic segment will have a pair of walking legs, and mesothorax and metathoracic segments will have the pair of, each segment will have a pair of wings except the prothorax. Mesothoracic wings and the metathoracic wings. Mesothoracic wings are the first pair of wings, which are also called as the tegmina or elytra, which are very dark, opaque and leathery, and they cover the hind wings, which are nothing but the metathoracic wings, which are transparent, membranous and are useful in flight. This is a very important paragraph where you will just study about the abdomen of the cockroach. Abdomen is made up of 10 segments, and in females, abdomen, the 7th sternum is boat shaped. So please be careful about this particular statement. Most of you get confused here. The 7th sternum is a boat shaped. Together with the 8th and 9th sternum forms the brood pouch. This was a question which was given before. 7th sternum along with 8th and 9th sternum. Whereas in males, if you talk about dorsally by 9th and 10th terga and ventrally by 9th sternum. Dorsally by 9th and 10th terga, ventrally by 9th sternum. This is about the brood pouch present in the male. So these numericals are very important. Please write it here in the particular area, write it many times so that you can remember this. And males, there was a question like this, males bear a pair of short thread-like anal styles which are absent in females. This is one of the sexual dimorphic character which is present only in the males, where we can recognize the males or we can differentiate the males or distinguish the males from females by looking at these anal styles which are present only in the males attached to the 9th sterna. Whereas 10th segment, both of them will have filamentous structures, jointed filamentous structures called anal cerci. Anal styles are not filamentous, whereas anal cerci, they are the filamentous structures. These are thread-like structures. Anal styles are thread-like structures. Okay, so this is anal styles are not jointed, but these are the jointed structures. This is about the particular part. This part you have questions in 2018, 22, 23 and 24. So it's a very important paragraph where you have to concentrate much, because people generally get confused in these particular areas. So mostly the paper setters will concentrate in this particular area because there is a chance of committing the mistake. Now when it comes to the digestive system of the cockroach, like we know foregut, midgut and the hindgut. Foregut is lined by cuticle, foregut, then gizzard, which is also called proventriculus, is consisting of 6 chitinous teeth, and at the junction of foregut and midgut we have 6 to 8 blind sac-like structures called hepatic caecae or gastric caecae, and the midgut, at the junction of midgut and hindgut we have 100 to 150 ring-like Malpighian tubules which are responsible for excretion, and finally the hindgut made up of ileum, colon and rectum. So the very important point here which we have to concentrate is hindgut, which is broader than the midgut, which is differentiated into ileum, colon and rectum, and the numerical things, because from this particular area there was the question 3 times, 2020, 2022 and 2024. Once there was a question about the passage of or the pathway of the digestive system of the cockroach. Nothing but mouth, opens with mouth, pharynx, then esophagus, crop, gizzard, then midgut, ileum, colon and the rectum which is opening out through anus. That was a question which was given before regarding a pathway of the digestive system of the cockroach. Now, next coming to circulatory system of the cockroach, there was no question before, but very important thing which you have to remember here is the circulatory system, open type of circulatory system, the open type, the sinuses, nothing but hemocoel which is consisting of the hemolymph, the colorless blood made up of plasma and hemocytes, and the heart, muscular heart along the mid dorsal line of the cockroach made up of 13 chambers, and the heart opens outside through a small aperture which is called as ostia. These things we have to concentrate well here about the position of the heart and the chambers which are present inside the heart. So, please concentrate on those particular points here. And the heart of the cockroach is a neurogenic heart, because we are going to discuss about the heart of the frog later, which was given in the NEET examination. That is a myogenic heart, whereas the heart of the cockroach is a neurogenic heart. Then next coming to the respiratory system, before this we have the respiratory system of cockroach which is made up of nothing but the tracheal system, because blood has no role in transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide, as that is the reason the tracheal system is well developed here with 10 pairs of spiracles opening outside, 2 pairs in thorax and 8 pairs in the abdomen. So, respiration, finally directly the air transports through the cells or tissues with the help of tracheoles, and the exchange of gases takes place by the diffusion. And there was a question in excretory system before in 2020. Excretory system, cockroaches are uricotelic organisms, and the excretory organs are malphizian tubules, you know that, and the malphizian tubules, each malphizian tubule is lined by glandular and ciliated cells, and the excretory product is uric acid, and so they are called as uricotelic organism. This was a question before. And also there was a question based on the additional excretory organs present in the cockroach, fat bodies, nephrocytes and uricose glands. Uricose glands are present only in males, not in females. There was a question based on this before. Now next comes to the nervous system. There was a question in nervous system about the types of ganglia and about the supraesophageal ganglia. What is the supraesophageal ganglia? Supraesophageal ganglia represents the brain, and it supplies nerves to antennae and as well as compound eyes. And there was a question based on this particular line. The nervous system of the cockroach is spread throughout the body. Head holds a bit of nervous system while the rest is situated along the ventral side of its body. So, now you understand that the head of the cockroach is cut off, it will still live for as long as 1 week. It's a very important statement. There was a question on this in the NEET examination. Why do cockroach, the head survives even after cutting it for a 1 week? So, that was a question, and this is the answer which is present here. So, please concentrate on this particular statement. Next, coming to ommatidia, there are 2 compound eyes present on the dorsal side, which each compound eye will have 2000 hexagonal ommatidia, each compound eye, and the vision in the cockroach is nothing but the nocturnal vision, nighttime vision, and this vision, the character is more sensitivity, less resolution. This is a very confusing part in the examination. As will be in the stress, you will get confused about this. More sensitivity with the less resolution. You just remember about MS Dhoni, your favorite cricketer. MS, what is MS? M is more sensitivity. So, whenever you get a question based on the ommatidia of the cockroach, just think of our favorite cricketer, favorite captain MS Dhoni. M is more, S is sensitivity, only for recognition, only for your remembrance. Thank you. Then, so there was a question on this in 2019. And next, this is a very important part depending upon the reproductive systems of the cockroach, and there were questions many times on the reproductive system 2016, 19, 23 and 24. Male reproductive systems, like if you go with the numericals, testes from 4 to 6 abdominal segments, mushroom shaped gland in 6th and 7th abdominal segments, and as well as the sperms, where are the sperms stored in the male reproductive system? That was a question before. The sperms are stored in seminal vesicles. Whereas when it comes to females, they have 2 large ovaries, 2 to 6 abdominal segments, and each ovary will have 8 ovarioles. That was the thing which you have to remember. And the ootheca which is produced by the ovaries around 3 to 8 inches or 8 millimeters long. This is very important. And so there was many times there was a question based on this particular paragraph. And ootheca Females on an average produce 9 to 10 ootheca consisting of 14 to 16 eggs, and the cockroach, the nymph, molts for 13 times to reach the adult form. The very important statement here, the mostly people get confused in this statement. The next to last nymphal stage have wing pads, but only an adult cockroaches have wings. When nymphs start developing, the wing pads are developed inside the nymph. So when the nymphs are undergoing molting or ecdysis, losing their exoskeleton, every stage of nymph have the wing pads except the adult. So up to last stages wing pads will develop here, and in the adult stage after 13th molting, wings will be developing inside the adults. No nymph will have the wings. Nymphs only will have wing pads. You have to remember this particular statement, very important statement. And about finally the part particularly, this is about the economic importance and ecological importance. The cockroach generally do not have any ecological importance. It's a very serious pest transferring different types of diseases. We will come across this mechanical carriers in the human health and disease in the second year about the entamoeba histolytica or amoebiasis. Please remember. Now next, coming to the frogs, very important because up to last year we have around structural organization, tissues and cockroaches in the NCERTs, but in new NCERT tissues and cockroach part has been removed and only frog part has been there. In 2024 we have 4 questions in the structural organization animals, and all the 4 questions are from frog only. There is no question from tissues, there is no question from the cockroach. It doesn't mean that you don't get even this year also, but you have to study because that is clearly given in the NEET schedule or NEET syllabi. You have to study that, but last year there were 4 questions from the frog, there was no question from the tissues and no question from the cockroach part. So frog, please be careful, please read each and every line of NCERT of the frog. There was no question out of NCERT, only from NCERT, but please go through the NCERT points. External morphology of the frog, if you take frog belongs to the phylum Chordata and belongs to the class Amphibia. Here we are discussing about the Rana tigrina. These are poikiloderms which cannot maintain their body temperature constant, and these are very important points here, camouflage and the mimicry. Frogs can change their body color and this protective coloration, because in order to survive from the enemies they are changing their body color depending upon the background, and that is called as mimicry. Please remember these 2 points. And frogs do have the aestivation, that is summer sleep, and hibernation which is called as winter sleep. Whereas external morphology of the frog, this external morphology, there was a question in the external morphology mainly on the, so external morphology, frogs on the dorsal side it is olive green and ventral side pale yellow. This is a very important statement. Frogs will never drink water, but they do absorb water through skin, right? No. And frogs, the body is divisible into head and trunk, there is no neck here, nostrils are present, eyes are covered by nictitating membrane, bulged eyes, upper eyelid is immovable, lower eyelid is movable, and frogs do have 2 pairs of legs here, hind limbs and forelimbs and hind limbs. A very important part, hind limbs are large and muscular which help in swimming, which have webbed digits. Forelimbs will have 4 digits, hind limbs will have 5 digits. And male frog, this is a very important part where the question has been given in the last year. How do you differentiate between a male and a female frog? Male frogs do have vocal sacs to produce croaking sounds to attract females during the rainy season for copulation, for breeding season, and even males have on their forelimbs they have an amplexary pad or a copulatory pad or a nuptial pad which helps during the copulation. This is how you can differentiate the male frog and a female frog, and this is nothing but the sexual dimorphism, the question given before. And anatomy, like in the anatomy, digestive system, this is very important question. Why the digestive system of frogs are, the length of the digestive system is reduced? Why? Because frogs are carnivores and that's the reason the length is reduced. That can be given in assertion reasoning question. And this is about the digestive system. Please look at the diagram carefully and the parts which are present here. You may get confused with the rectum and intestine. So look at the parts. Digestive system, a simple digestive system opening from mouth, buccal cavity, esophagus, pharynx, stomach, and intestine, small intestine and large intestine, and finally partially digestible food is called as chyme, and the small intestine receives the bile juice and as well as the pancreatic juice with a common bile duct or hepatopancreatic duct, This is very important. And the small intestine, they have many numerous finger-like folds called microvilli, which helps in absorption of substances. Now the most important thing, the respiratory system of cockroach. There was a question in 2025, the last year, based on this respiration. Frogs respire on land and water by different methods. So generally in water, frogs respire through skin, only skin. Whereas on land, frogs respire through buccal cavity, skin and lungs. During hibernation estivation, frogs respire through skin. That was a question. In 2017, there was a question based on the circulatory system of the frog. Circulatory system, closed type of circulatory system, 3-chambered heart covered by pericardium, 2 atrium and 1 ventricle, and on the dorsal side there is a triangular chamber called sinus venosus formed by the union of all the 3 caval veins, which opens into right atrium carrying deoxygenated blood, whereas on the ventral side we have a chamber arising from the ventricle called as conus arteriosus, which distributes mixed blood to all the different parts of the body. And cockroaches, this is very important point, cockroaches, the RBCs of the frog, not cockroach, sorry, RBCs of the frog are nucleated and contain red color pigment, namely hemoglobin. So this is the difference between the RBCs of humans and as well as the frogs. We have enucleated RBC and here the frogs will have the nucleated RBC, and that was a question given before. And there was a question last year based on renal portal system. There are 2 systems here, hepatic and renal portal systems. Hepatic portal system connects intestines and liver. Renal portal system connects kidney with lower body parts, and that was a question in 2025 last year NEET examination. So please concentrate on this particular paragraph. And this is excretory system of the frog, consisting of a pair of kidneys and adrenal glands present on that. In males, kidneys opens into Bidder's canals. Kidneys will have Bidder's canal, whereas kidney, through the kidney urinogenital duct arises from the males, which is nothing but the ureter, a common aperture, common duct for both transfer of both sperms and as well as urine, whereas in females that's a different thing anyhow. And frogs are ureotelic, which excretes urea like the mammals, whereas frogs, they excrete urea generally in the general conditions. Sometimes during estivation hibernation they may excrete uric acids. Tadpole larva of the frog will excrete ammonia, right? And so frogs have different modes of excretion, but generally you remember frogs are ureotelic animals which excretes urea. Okay. Next, coming to the endocrine system, just endocrine glands are mentioned here, so no need to much worry about that. And we have studied in chemical coordination. And the nervous system, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain includes this part, please remember this thing, forebrain, nervous system, 3 different types of nervous systems: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Central nervous system consisting of brain and spinal cord, peripheral nervous system consisting of cranial nerves and spinal nerves, autonomic nervous system consisting of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. And the forebrain consists of olfactory lobes, cerebral hemispheres, 2 olfactory lobes, paired cerebral hemispheres and unpaired diencephalon. Midbrain will have a pair of optic lobes. In humans we have 4 optic lobes. Here there are 2 optic lobes, corpora bigemina, whereas in humans we have corpora quadrigemina. Whereas the medulla oblongata, the hindbrain consists of medulla oblongata and the cerebellum. Medulla oblongata passes out through foramen magnum. That's a very important thing. There was no question before, but please be careful. Senses like touch, taste and smell are not much developed here. Eyes and internal nails are much developed here, whereas the remaining structures are just with cellular aggregations. And eyes, external it is absent but tympanum is present. Upper eyelid is immovable, lower eyelid is movable, which is also having a thin membrane called nictitating membrane. Ear helps in both hearing and as well as balance, because ear has semicircular canals. Whereas reproductive systems, there was a question in 2017, reproductive system, male reproductive system, testis opens into the kidneys with the help of 10 to 12 vasa efferentia. There was a question before, and it opens into the Bidder's canal in the kidney, and Bidder's canal opens into ureter, which acts as a urinogenital duct. So there was a question in the pathway of the male reproductive system. The pathway is like this: testis, vasa efferentia, kidneys and Bidder's canal, and ureter, which is acting as urinogenital duct, opens into cloaca. Cloaca opens outside through cloacal aperture. Whereas in females there are a pair of ovaries which are just attached to the kidneys, but is no functional connection with the kidneys, very important, only attached. there is no functional connection. Ovaries release the ovum into body cavity, which are collected through the ostium oviduct, finally opens into stored in ovisac, opens into cloaca and released outside through cloacal aperture. Then each ovary releases 2500 to 3000 ova at a time, and the fertilization is external, which is occurring in the water, and the development is indirect because there is a larval form called tadpole larva, and frogs maintain ecological balance because they are a very important part of the food chain, and in some countries even frogs are eaten. So this is about the NCERT part, the important terms present in the NCERT part about the structural organization. Coming back to the important things, so make sure you see this, as I told you before, about the respiratory system of the frog. Respiratory system, frogs respire on land by different methods, whereas in water only by skin, and aestivation, hibernation by skin. So this is a very important thing, please go through this. Then there are few questions out of NCERT in the NEET examination from this particular chapter, only twice it was given. One is about the Periplaneta americana. Schizocoelom as a body cavity, you all know schizocoelom, a true coelom divided into schizo, that is split coelom, whereas indeterminate and radial cleavage during embryonic development, this is wrong regarding the cockroach. Exoskeleton, N-acetyl glucosamine, and metamerically segmented body, metamerically segmented body is also right. And myelin sheath is produced by Schwann cells and oligodendrocytes. We do not have this term in the NCERT, but anyhow we discuss about that. Oligodendrocytes will form the myelin sheath in the central nervous system, whereas Schwann cells will form the myelin sheath in the peripheral nervous system. Okay. These are the only two questions given out of NCERT. About assertion reasoning questions, up to now there is no assertion reasoning question in structural organization. And when you go with one or two examples, the squamous epithelium is made up of single thin layer of flattened cells with irregular boundaries. Irregular boundaries, this is correct. They are found in the walls of blood vessels and 8 sacs of wings. Is wrong, it is lungs. This is the question which is given in AIMS 2017. Like urinary bladder can considerably expand to accommodate urine. Yes, it is stretchable. Squamous epithelium, no, it is made up of transitional epithelium. Columnar epithelium lining the intestinal mucosa appears to have a brush border appearance, right, correct. A large number of microvilli are present on brush border columnar epithelium, correct, is also correct. Surface of skin is impervious to water. Yes, surface of skin is covered by stratified cuboidal epithelium, wrong, it is a stratified squamous epithelium. So like this you can see some assertion reason questions, but in the NEET, right now there were no questions, but please go through that. The general mistakes where you may commit mistakes, as I told you before, dense irregular connective tissue is present in the dermis of skin, whereas keratinized stratified squamous epithelium is present in the epidermis of the skin. Then specialized types, please include adipose tissue also. Then skeletal muscle, smooth muscle have cell junctions, whereas even cardiac muscle, no, so skeletal muscle is covered by the several bundles of muscle fibers. There is a tissue, connective tissue. Smooth muscles will have cell junctions, cardiac muscles also will have cell junctions. Neurons are excitable but cannot regenerate. Neuroglial cells are not excitable but can regenerate. Then about, as I told you about the brood pouch in males and females in the cockroach, and each cockroach, the eye will have 2000 hexagonal ommatidia, and about in the frog, the 10 to 12 vasa efferentia in each kidney, I mean testes opens into the kidney through 10 to 12 vasa efferentia. These are the general areas where you may commit mistakes, so please go through that. Then interlinking with the other chapters, see this is a very important topic, very important chapter. All the tissues we have studied here, we will study about all these tissues again in different parts, like you will study in breathing and exchange about the respiratory tracts, filtration membranes, you will study in body fluids and circulation about the blood vessels, the chambers of the heart, and nephron, and as well as filtration membranes, muscles in locomotion, neural coordination, chemical coordination, human reproduction. In all these areas we are going to study about this tissues, because if you are perfect with the tissues here in the next chapters, that is going to become so easier. So this is about the overview of the structural organization of animals. Within a short span of time we have discussed all the important points here. So please concentrate on all these points. All the best for your NEET examination. You are the best, so best will never commit mistakes. So please do your best. All the very best for your NEET examination. Thank you so much.